Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Our goal is to create a beloved community, and this will require a qualitative change in our souls, as well as a quantitative change in our lives. And if there is any one thing that the church must do, it's to keep the flame of hope burning. The church is something of the custodian of hopefulness. And when everybody else loses hope, when other institutions lose hope, the church is the one institution that must keep hope alive. There is a need to talk about hope today more than ever before. Why? Because so many people have lost hope. And yet, if we are going to survive, we have to have hope.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to First Parish Church of Groton. I am Steve Lehman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm your worship leader this morning. I feel connected to First Parish in many ways, most recently through my photography. You may have noticed me toting the camera around from time to time, recording images of the beautiful people who gather here each week. We are a community seeking to deepen spiritually, take care of one another, and be a blessing to the world. Unitarian Universalism is a faith for all, so bring all of who you are, all of your beliefs, identities, abilities, challenges, and gifts. Bring all of what you've been and all of what you've done. There is room here for all of it. Our congregation includes a wide variety of beliefs, and so I invite you to freely translate the language you hear today. If you are visiting for the first time today, whether in person or online, we are so glad that you have found us. If you'd like more information, email us at welcome@uugroton.org or ask anyone to point you to the folks on our welcoming team. Today's service is for all ages. We are not concerned about noise during the service and hope you won't be either. And if you have a joy or a sorrow or prayer you'd like to have included in the minister's daily prayers, you can email it to prayers@uugroton.org or fill out a prayer card that you can find in your pew. So let's take a moment now to wave to the camera and say hi to the virtual congregation. Let's stand and take a moment to greet each other, and please come down and say hi to the people who are going to be watching the world.
Hello everyone, I'm so glad you're here. Oh, come say hi, Miles. Do you want to stand up on the bench so you can see the camera and they can see you? Here's Miles.
Say good morning. Good morning.
Morning, afternoon. This is Alchemy. I'm Finn.
So you get back up here.
Although we are not certain of the origins of the song Down on the River to Pray, research suggests that it's likely an African-American spiritual written by an enslaved person. It was first published in 1867. Some of the lyrics of this beautiful tune may be coded messages for how to escape from slavery, actually. As in, walking in the river is a good idea because it covers your scent and your tracks. For example, "Good Lord, show me the way," scholars think may be a reference to a prayer for guidance. So please stand as able and we will sing, and Shawn and Jan will lead us in this beautiful, beautiful tune.
Sorry, ground, good Lord, show me
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Shawn. Yeah, have a seat. My name is Li Kynvi. My pronouns are they, them, their. I am in the 24th month of my 24-month internship with you. And it is my delight now to invite us to settle a little further into our bodies, into our spirits. Take a minute to check in. How is it with you? How is it with you? See if you can get yourself 5 or 10% more comfortable. So we invite 3 breaths, 3 perhaps closings and then openings of the body in whatever way works for you. And with those 3, we invite us to send our love, send our thoughts, first inside to ourselves. And for this, on the second bell, to ones who come to mind who we love so dearly. And then on that third bell, out to the whole world. We begin inside.
If you're with us remotely, I invite you to get a candle or chalice and light it as we light our common chalice in the meeting house. The idea of a flaming chalice grew from the Unitarian Service Committee's brave and dangerous work during the Second World War, helping to smuggle Jews and other persecuted people out of Europe. It is a symbol of trust and courage and resistance to oppression and tyranny. Laura Lundberg Donovan will light the chalice this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So my name is Laura Lundberg, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm really happy to be here this morning. In the fall of 2019, Owen Schumann and Donnie Funch worked on a religious education curriculum on racial justice, and it became clear to them that the RE teachers, we being one at the time, needed to attend a racial justice ministry class before we could teach the kids, and most of us did. I remember, yes, I've been wanting to do this, but I just don't have the time. Nonetheless, the class started in January 2020, and eventually I joined the ministry, and it continues to be a life-altering experience. Through the racial justice ministry, I have attended and led racial justice ministry classes, participated in a beloved conversation course. As a group, we've read Widening the Circle of Concern together. I have read Ibram X. Kendi, Brian Stevenson, the 1619 Project, Layla F. Saad, Debbie Irving, and Dr. Robin D'Angelo, and many more. I have learned so much, read so much, and I have so much more to learn and so much more to read. This past week, I also read much of Dr. Martin Luther King's teachings in preparation for this chalice lighting, and 2 things stood out to me. First, a quote from Dr. King that alarms me in its truth. I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that Negroes' great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who paternalistically feels he can set the timetable for another man's freedom. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than the absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. Shallow understanding of people of goodwill. This is is where I found myself before I started on my racial justice journey. It horrifies me that I almost hung my hat on that shallow understanding. I did not realize how dangerous my naive indifference was. And maybe indifference is the wrong word. I'm a good person. I'm good-natured. I'll get to it, meaning I'll learn about Black people's lives another time. I'm well-meaning, I'm generous, and loving. I did not admit to seeing color and didn't understand at the time. This also meant I did not see you. Painful. I am so grateful for the racial justice ministry and for being encouraged on this journey years ago, and that I continue to do so by being in the racial justice ministry today. Second thing that stood out to me is how often the word courage is used in describing Dr. King's life. As Reverend Sylvia A. Stalker writes, Dr. King had the courage to live his convictions, even in the face of overwhelming opposition. As courage is my word of the year, I'm finding examples of it everywhere, as is what happens. I am acutely aware that I do not have near the depth of Dr. King's courage, especially if I'm faced with opposition. But by Dr. King's example, maybe I can be a little courageous, to not have a shallow understanding by continuing to read and learn about people of color's experience in this world, especially in my community. To look at the names we have on the plaques in the sanctuary and learn who these people are. To wonder whose land this church stands on. To think about the potential adoption of the eighth principle. The eighth principle, if you don't know, is a principle being considered which affirms and promotes journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions to ourselves and our institutions. 2, as Reverend Sylvia A. Stalker writes, find the courage to live our lives of conviction, of spirit, and of faith. Another quote from Dr. King, now let us begin. Now let us rededicate ourselves to the long and bitter, but beautiful struggle for a new world. The choice is ours. Though we might prefer it otherwise, we must choose in this crucial moment of human history. I like the chalice in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy and for the courage to rededicate myself to the long and bitter but beautiful struggle for a new world.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you to the Racial Justice Ministry who's been carrying on this good work. We're going to talk about the eighth principle during sabbatical a little bit every single Sunday. So we're going to kind of build up what it is and just really talk about it. On Sunday mornings now, we also light a peace candle to remind ourselves of the violence in so many places around the globe. And as we heard, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday is today. He believed that violence leads to emptiness and bitterness without exception. Dr. King was deeply committed to nonviolence and saw nonviolence as the path to beloved community. In a 1957 speech, Dr. King said, "The aftermath of nonviolence is the creation of beloved community. The aftermath of nonviolence is redemption. The aftermath of nonviolence is reconciliation." So we light our peace candle today to reaffirm this commitment to work toward authentic, peaceful, intergroup, interpersonal, and personal living. And Max Waters is going to come up and light our peace candle this morning. Oh yeah, we just learned how to light candles this morning. Please join us. You may remain seated in singing Carolyn McDade's song, Spirit of Life. We sing it in Spanish first and then in English.
So we would like to invite all of the children to come up here for a story. The story has very beautiful pictures that you will want to see. Yes, a new sculpture in honor of Dr. King was unveiled yesterday?
Yes, yesterday.
Or Friday, right? Friday, yeah. Okay, good morning, everybody. So did you hear Lee say whose birthday we are celebrating this weekend? Yes. who?
Dr. Martin Luther King.
Dr. Martin Luther King. Junior. Thank you. In fact, I think it would be Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Yes, Amelia.
What about our reading?
We're going to do it. You're right. Amelia, thankfully you always remind us that we need to say our words and do our hand motions first. And you see how easy it is to forget. Okay, we are Unitarian, Universalists, with minds that think, hearts that love, and hands ready to help and hug.
I came up with that.
You like it? You came up with that one. We know you did. And we're going to keep doing it that way forever, ever now. Okay, so Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15th, 1929. So check my math. He would be 94 this year. And he was born the same year as Helen Keller.
Oh, so he's almost 100.
No.
Anne Frank.
Anne Frank. Anne Frank.
Barbara Walters.
Benjamin Frank.
Yeah. Imagine if we had them all. Okay, this story is called My Dream of Martin Luther King by Faith Ringgold. And she is an artist and a quilt maker, and she painted the paintings that are now the pictures in this book. And here's how the story goes. I have always been a dreamer, but the only dreams I can remember are the ones I dream with my eyes wide open. Once I go to sleep, I never remember my dreams, but one day, while watching a TV program about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I slept and I had a dream I will never forget.
Wait, for real?
We kind of adapted the words, Steve, so just take your best guess on the pictures. Yeah. You're good. In my dream, and this is a picture of the dream, Dr. King appeared first as a child in a place so huge it could fit the whole world and all the people inside. There were children and old folks, people of all colors and races and religions. They carried bags, like a backpacks and stuff, holding, wait for it, their hate and fear. And they wanted to trade those bags for bags that held hope and freedom and love. That's quite a dream. Some people had bigger bags than others, but everybody had something to trade. Where do you think they found the something to trade? Inside. Yeah. In this place, there were steps that led up to a bright, shining light in the sky. Young Martin and his father, Daddy King, his mother, his grandmother, Mother Dear, and his brother and sister, A.D. and Christine, all led the climb up the steps to reach this light. Everyone was singing this beautiful old song, "We shall overcome." Yeah,
Do you want to play? Yeah, Shawn is going to play for us.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to sing. Sean's supposed to play.
Well, we'll sing when he plays.
I don't care. I have no idea. Yeah. Any key. Yeah. There we go. We shall overcome. We shall. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
That's how it goes. But then, yes. But then, in my dream, young Martin's family disappeared, and he was alone except for his closest friend. They were standing on the steps of a school with his friend's mother, who told young Martin to go away. "This is a school for white children," she said. "But I'm starting school now too," said Martin proudly. "Not here," she said. "Why?" asked Martin. Because we are white and you are black." A police officer chased young Martin away. Young Martin ran as fast as he could. He tried to get on a bus, but the bus driver was the same one who had made Martin stand up so that the white passengers could sit down. In my dream, the bus driver said, "There are no seats on this bus for you."
That's so mean.
I know, it is so mean. Yes.
When he, I know what he does when he grows up,
Yeah.
but I also know how he was killed.
Yeah, we're not going to talk exactly about
That's
that
very
part.
important.
Yes, but we're going to talk about what he did when he grew up. So young Martin ran into a crowd of people who were marching and carrying signs. They were protesting against segregated buses. That means separate sections for white and black people to sit, which was the law in some places in our country that Martin helped change when he grew up, along with many other brave people, including Mrs. Rosa Parks. Yes, Amelia?
Miss Rosa Parks actually didn't follow the rules, and she sat in a different seat, not in the back.
So we have a very historically accurate lesson about Mrs. Rosa Parks. Amelia said Mrs. Parks did not follow the rules, and she sat in a seat in the back. In the front, because she would not sit in a seat in the back. She sat in a seat in the front because she was protesting the law.
Got arrested.
She did get arrested. Young Martin was happy to read the signs calling for freedom and justice, and he joined the peaceful protesters. But then the police came with water hoses and police dogs and put the protesters in police wagons and took them to jail. And young Martin remembered what his mother had always told him, that despite the bad treatment of his people, he was as good as anyone. And he remembered how his grandmother, they called her Mother Dear, took him in her arms, and said, I know you want to find a way to change things, Martin, and you will. But not today. Today, we're going to church to listen to Daddy King preach.
Hey.
And we will sing Amazing Grace, which sounds like this. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. And in my dream, as young Martin sat in church that day, there appeared before him a very small but powerful holy man from India named Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi told young Martin in my dream about the power of love to create change. The power of love to create change. And about how he, Gandhi, had led more than 300 million of his people to freedom. Young Martin found the answer to helping his people from Gandhi's teachings. So then in my dream, Martin wasn't a child anymore. You know how in dreams time skips around? So all of a sudden he was a grown-up, and he was a minister of his own church, and he had a wife named Coretta, and he had 4 kids. Many people joined together with him to try to change things. They wanted to end segregated buses and segregated lunch counters. They wanted to help get black people registered to vote. They wanted equal education for all children. They wanted good houses and good jobs for all the people. And the group doing all of these important things was called the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and Dr. King was its leader. He led his people to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where he spoke with such a powerful voice that everyone listened and was moved. I have a dream, he said. Yes.
This was also on the news.
Yes, it was on the news.
It's this famous green speech.
Yes.
I actually made this paper, and on its shirt it said, "The power of love."
Oh, you made a paper that said the power of love on it? I would love to see that. Dr. King painted a picture of his dream, saying, I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the children of former slaves and the children of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the same table. And then Dr. King appeared in my dream with black people and white people and brown people sitting together on buses and eating together and voting together, and all the children going to school together and living together. And he was very, very happy. But suddenly, there was a noise like a firecracker.
What's a firecracker?
And I knew, what's a firecracker? It explodes. There's a noise like an explosion. Like on 4th of July. Like on 4th of July, where they go. And when I heard that noise, I knew that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was dead. And in my dream, people were crying, just as we had on the day he was killed. It seemed the entire world was so sad. That's actually my first memory ever in my whole life, is when he got shot. And suddenly I was back in that huge place with all the people of the world. And this time we had come to cry together about Dr. King's death. So we emptied our bags that were full of hate and fear into a great big pile. And as the very last bag was dumped, the whole pile exploded in my dream into a fire so bright that it lit up the whole world. And out of that light came written across the sky
these words. And you're going to sing with me after I sing. Ready? Every good thing starts with a dream. Let's try. Every good thing starts with a dream. One more time. Every good thing starts with a dream.
Look.
So the children's choir is going to sing now. You like that one, Max? And if you all want to, if you're not in the choir, you can stay up here and watch if you want, or you can go back to your grown-ups.
Look. I made this.
Thank you, Steve.
Already dark.
Do you want me to kick it or do you want it?
Can you just show her that? Can you show them that? And I'll stay up here.
While this isn't spiritual, it does have a very nice message. A lot of you, maybe if you're a certain age like me and older, which probably remember this from a Coca-Cola commercial from back in the 1970s. But we won't be singing that.
Scholars have cataloged more than 6,000 spirituals. Dr. Melba Wilson Costin, who is one of those scholars, writes this: African American spirituals are the first distinctive music genre of African people in the American diaspora. Born out of the substance and experience of an oppressive environment, combined with the musical gifts of African peoples, spirituals subsequently became the foundation for all African American musical forms. Peace Like a River, which we're going to sing next, is a folk hymn that's derived from this wonderful African American spiritual that starts, I love like a river, I love like a river. You can Google that and find it, it's beautiful. So let's stand this week, because our sung prayer invites movement and dance, because we pray with our singing and we pray with our bodies. for just another second. If you need to sit, please do. Please do. Did you know that moving your body in a particular way makes it easier to remember things? I used to be a teacher of languages, foreign languages, and I learned that if I did this with my leg, because when I learned Spanish, I went monte caballo, and when I do this with my leg, I can't help but remember that. So we're going to do a body prayer today, because anything that we do with a gesture or a movement is especially likely to stay in our body and also be available later on. So it's likely to go in deeper now, and it's likely to be more available later. Okay? So I'm going to show it to you, and then I'm going to invite you to move it with me once. I'll sort of talk it through. And then if we're ready, we'll just do it 3 times silently. Okay? So, all right. I guess to be heard, I have to be up here. All right. So, because I need 2 hands, that's the thing. It's so hard for me to talk without both hands. I know this is a shock. All right, so we're going to start with our hands out front. And we're going to invite, so out front, but not too far out front, right? Inviting inner quiet. Okay? We're inviting inner quiet. And the next piece is arms up high to open to our highest dreams. And then down, roots, to remember where we came from, to remember who we belong to. Okay? And then hands in here, to our heart, to our core, to remember the authenticity and validity of the inner voice. Okay? And then to extend in service to others. So let's walk it through once more with words. In front for inner quiet. Up high for highest dreams. Down to the roots to remember where we came from. To our hearts for the inner voice. And in service to others. So 3 times together. One more. Amen. Amen.
It's a tough act to follow. So, our generosity sustains this congregation and allows us to deepen spiritually, take care of each other, and to be a blessing to this world. We can't make church without all of us. Can't make church without all of us. There are 2 QR codes on the back page of your order of service. One is to make a donation using Venmo, and the other to donate through PayPal. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received.
So in just a moment, Jan's going to sing Precious Lord, Take My Hand. And I just want to talk a little bit about this hymn. So it was written by Thomas A. Dorsey. He was born in 1899, until 1993. He was, in some circles, known as the father of black gospel music. And he combined African church hymns with blues and jazz. And this worldly combination was not without controversy at first, but set the tone for gospel music for decades to come. Now, many hymns are conceived in the throes of tragedy. Precious Lord was written in 1932 following the death of Thomas Dorsey's wife, Nettie, and an infant son during childbirth.
echoing another beautiful spiritual, Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson writes, hush, somebody's calling your name. Can you hear it? Calling you to a past not quite forgotten, calling us to a future not fully imagined. Hush. Somebody's calling our name. What shall we do? This weekend is not just for honoring Dr. King, but for remembering the dream. The dream that he shared with all of those who marched and sang and prayed and protested with him and tried to bring that not fully imagined future into being. Dr. King's dream was for something he called the beloved community, which was not just an idea, not just a possibility or a vision, but something that he and the civil rights leaders deeply believed in. They believed it was practical and possible and real. It's impossible to describe beloved community in just a few words, but it is about freedom, liberation, justice, and peace for all people. Internal freedom and peace that comes from emptying those bags of fear and hate, and external freedom and peace. They believed in nothing less than a global community where all beings have worth and dignity, and where hunger and poverty and oppression are healed. It was an audacious and beautiful dream. It still is. Our country is far from beloved community. So the way to honor Dr. King is to ask ourselves again, what will we say yes to? As Laura said, maybe by Dr. King's example, we can be a little bit brave. What is one thing that you can do? Maybe tomorrow, maybe this week, maybe this year, that will help build the beloved community in your own life, in yourself, in your family, your school, your workplace, your world. Think of something brave, like inviting someone to play with you who's alone, or asking someone to sit with you at lunch who seems lonely. Maybe it's deciding you're going to look right into the eyes of every cashier who checks you out at the supermarket this year and smile. To acknowledge them as fully human, complicated people with their own dreams and plans. Maybe you'll remember to thank the kid who is bagging your groceries, or the person who hands you your coffee through the drive-through window. Commit yourself to see them. Maybe this will be the year you get to know your neighbor, the year you sign up to exchange letters with someone who is incarcerated through the Worthy Now Prison Ministry Pen Pal program. Donna's here, she'll tell you how. What is something you can do? Something you will do? I want you to take a little time to imagine, to ask yourself, what is that one brave thing? Nothing is too small or too big. Every good thing begins with a dream. So you got a piece of colored paper and a magic marker when you came in. If you need one, just raise your hand high and the ushers will bring you one, and I'm going to ask you in a moment to write it down in just a few words or draw a picture of it. If you need help writing, ask someone near you to write for you. And Shawn will play a little bit of music while we do that. And we will be collecting these to share if you choose and put them up so we can remember when we see them. I thought it would be a great thing to make use of some of that plywood to post them up so you'll see them there next week. Thank you. So we dedicate ourselves again to this beautiful struggle for a new world. We will pass around baskets during the closing hymn and invite you to put your piece of paper in the basket so that we can post it on our windows and be reminded. Our closing hymn, Come and Go With Me, has elements of both blues and spirituals. This song too may be from the time of American slavery, but no one is sure. We do know it was one of the freedom songs sung in the early civil rights movement. So will you stand as you are able, and let's sing together, Come and Go With Me. other, reach out, look at one another's faces, know that we are connected, tied together with strong and sturdy threads of love.
Go in peace, beloveds. Be the blessing in this world.